Hi everybody, welcome to the Paranormal Connection. I'm your host, Donna Wilberg. Tonight we're going to be talking about UFOs and paranormal investigations with esoteric detective Paul Dale Roberts. Welcome.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Well, you've got so many fun things to talk about. I couldn't wait. This is going to be great. We've got UFOs, we've got things that go bump in the night. What a better way to spend an evening.
I have so many things to tell you.
Good. Well, where do you want to start? Should we start in Yuba City?
Yuba City is one of the most unique cases I ever had, Donna.
Okay.
This place, the guy that was living there was a Satanist, and he had a big old picture tattooed on his back of Satan. So he actually brought in this very negative energy into Yuba City. And one of our investigators, who happened to be an Alameda policewoman, was out in the field with her girlfriend, and they got an EVP. The very first EVP, electronic voice phenomenon, it was a man's voice, and it said, "I'm watching you."
Oh.
Okay, so that just really freaked her out.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's walking through the field with her girlfriend, and she gets another EVP, and it says, "I'm going to kill you."
Oh no.
Yeah. So she's totally freaked out. She tells me about it and everything else. At that point in time, she quit HPI. She didn't want to do any more paranormal investigating. That got too heavy for her.
Mm-hmm.
She wound up having me come down because she said the demon followed her, was opening up cabinets, things were being thrown around, and was actually focusing on her baby.
Oh no.
The baby was crying, saying he was being touched and all this other stuff. So she said, "Paul, can you please come over here and bless my house?" Well, one thing that we do at Halo Paranormal Investigations, we just don't investigate, but we also do cleanse homes, and we actually do a full submersion baptism, because a lot of people don't realize, but it's a basic form of exorcism. Mm-hmm. So if you have an attachment, that's a way to get rid of it. So we went over there. Well, I took some of my investigators. We did a blessing of the house. I did a Roman Catholic type blessing of the house. And I did a baptism in the swimming pool. So I baptized her, her husband, and her 3 children, including that baby. Mm. And then she said, "Paul," she goes, "I can sleep well now. The entity's gone. It's, you did a good job. You cleansed the house and everything else. I don't have this attachment." Well, I get a call, and it's just so unique, that I investigated this woman's house, but now she moved into a new house. It happened to be the same house where that Alameda policewoman got those EVPs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we're back at the same house. What a coincidence. Mm-hmm. So we're over there, and we get EVPs. We get numerous EVPs throughout the house, but they're not as threatening as it was before. But the people said that they see black masses, people get pushed, just all kinds of paranormal activity happen in this house. And it's not just one house, but it's actually made of about 4 different houses. It's almost like a ranch. And there's a lot of area to cover. So
is there any particular pattern to the houses that are being affected?
Well, actually they're affecting all the houses there. Okay. But some of the activities actually what they consider as good activity. So they have good spirits. And the other activity, like in certain 2 of the houses, were kind of mischievous, but not as evil as it was once before. So I did a blessing of the whole house of houses. There's 4 houses, and there's a lot of people living there. And it's really hard to do because there's so much to cover.
Yeah.
And then my wife, she's a sensitive. Her name's Deanna Jackson Stinson. I know you know her.
She's a doll.
Yes, she is. But anyway, she had picked up on a lot of stuff. And she knew where the entities were. So when, like she would say, "Paul, the entities are talking right now. Try to get an EVP now." Okay? And so I would turn on the recorder, and sure enough, the entities are actually talking. She knew where the hot spots were. She was able to describe certain areas of the homes where she says, Paul, there's more activity here. And as I go to that area, and sure enough, we would get photographic evidence or we would get EVP. So she was very helpful in that case. And also, too, the people that lived there, they really looked up to her because she was aware where the entities are. And I talked to after I did the blessing of the house, and I baptized everybody there. It seems like most of the people are doing well, except for one person. Yeah, but she had a negative attitude throughout the whole thing. Yeah, but it's really important not just to investigate, but to also to help the people.
Yeah.
Get rid of the entities, and if they have an attachment, you got to try to help them get rid of that attachment.
Now, do you feel like there was a vortex there that, it happened to be one of those things where there's a vortex and all this activity is coming through?
Well, here's the unique thing.
Okay.
Juan Corona, he's a serial killer. Back in the day, you probably remember him as a machete killer.
What was his name again?
Juan Corona.
Juan Corona. It sounds a little familiar.
Yeah. And in Yuba City, he killed 39 farm workers and buried them.
Oh.
And one of the things that Deanna did, and Deanna, she's too young to even know who Juan Corona was because this was happening in the late 60s. She goes, Paul, there's somebody out there buried in the field where the orchard was. And that's where the Alameda policewoman picked up on that EVP. So I think some of the evilness, some of the negativity from that serial killer still is persistent in that ranch.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, it's a very unique case. And not only that, I mean, the one occupant that used to live there, here he had a tattoo of Satan and he was a Satanist. So there was just so many elements that came together that created this evil environment in that ranch.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had a guest on not too long ago who lived in a house that was haunted, and you'd be surprised, how many houses really are, and until it happens to you, it's really hard to believe. But when you start getting that stuff, there's just you're unnerved morning, night, and day. It's just you can't focus.
It was a perfect storm for that ranch.
Yeah, perfect storm. That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
And one thing too, Donna, is that a lot of times, a lot of paranormal investigators, they'll tell you they get pictures of orbs. Well, basically what it comes down to is so what? Okay, because orbs can be almost anything. It could be lint, it could be dust, it could be skin flakes, it could be light refractions, dewdrops, anything. But how can you prove that orb, and this is what we do, how can you prove that orb is actually paranormal? That is an actual spiritual containment field. And I had one case, and you're going to love this one, but we had an entity called Emily, and it was attacking one of my male paranormal investigators. And he looked at me and he goes, Paul, I need to sit down. I go, why? He goes, I just need to sit down. He goes, I'm feeling so drained. He goes, Emily's around me right now, and she's draining me. She's taking my energy. And it's so true because entities, their food is energy. They actually suck out your energy, so it gives them strength.
Sure.
So I said, okay, well, we had 3 cameras. I said, Emily, if you're there, appear above his head. We snap a photo, and there's an orb above his head. I said, Emily, if you like him, I said, kiss him. And we snap a photo, 3 cameras, and there's an orb at his mouth.
Oh.
Yeah. That showed intelligent movement. It showed me that it was a spiritual containment field. Something like that I can deem as paranormal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because when you were saying that, I thought, she likes him. Oh. We've got so much more to talk about too. Let's talk about UFOs because we don't get very many people who come on the show and discuss UFOs, and there's quite a bit of activity around here, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
One of our best cases, and that was over in Grass Valley, and the two people that called me are now investigators. And that's Rod Ingberson and that's Victoria Autumn. And they now go to all our investigations and they're all enthusiastic about it and everything else. But at their house, they called me and they said, Paul, bring some investigators over here because you're going to be really surprised. We have UFO activity. We can also, too, oversee Beale Air Force Base. Okay, so I'm thinking it could be experimental aircraft, satellites, whatever. Well, Deanna, my wife, she has a vision. She has a vision that when she goes over there, she needs to be near water. And that somehow she's going to communicate with these alien beings. So she told me about it. I had a chuckle. I had a laugh a little bit. But when we got there, she had these two crystal skulls that she utilizes. And when they vibrate in her hand, it tells her something's going to go down. Okay, something of the paranormal nature is going to go down. So we get over there, and she takes off for the creek. She goes, where's the water? And Victoria looks at her and goes, down there. It's about 200 yards away. So I happen to stay with the other investigators, and Deanna and two other investigators, they head down that to the creek. She goes, I need to be by the water. And we're watching two what looks like satellites, and they're approaching each other and they're going very slow. And I said, those are satellites. Well, Deanna's back over there and she's looking at these satellites and she says, if you're a UFO, give me a sign. The crystal skulls start vibrating. And at that moment in time, one of the satellites powers up, just becomes really big, and then becomes really small. It contracts again. So it's like, okay, a satellite doesn't do that. Well, everybody's really excited. They go, wow, did you just see that? It just powered up. Satellites don't power up. And Deanna's way down there 200 yards away. And at the time that this thing powered up, Deanna's holding the crystal skulls or vibrating. She goes, give me a sign. So she's communicating with this UFO, and boom, it powers up. And at the same time, and Victoria and the other one, Big Al, they come up, they go, Paul, she said, she was communicating with the UFO. She says, give me a sign. She's telling us that the skulls are vibrating in her hand, and that thing powered up. Because I could hear them screaming all the way at the creek, 200 yards away. And I go, that is incredible. And at the same time, and I don't know if it's experimental aircraft or what, but we saw this orange globe, and it was floating along, and it's not your conventional aircraft, and it's just floating along. It doesn't have any kind of blinking lights or any kind of landing lights or anything like that. It turns green, it becomes a green globe, and then all of a sudden it vanishes. I go, what was that?
What kind of equipment are you looking? Are you looking at these things with?
Binoculars. We have night vision goggles. Deanna has a high-powered telescope. So we're looking through a variety of things at these objects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're pretty far away. Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty far away.
Yeah.
They're pretty far
So
away.
how do you know? Did someone call you and say, "Hey, we've seen a lot of activity in this spot," and that's why you went out there to investigate?
Right. Rod and Victoria, before they were investigators, they were clients, and they were calling us and they're saying, "Paul, you need to get out here, bring your team over here because we're seeing UFOs."
Okay.
And I said, And I kind of doubted it because they're so close to Beale Air Force Base. But most of it, what we're seeing was aircraft, satellites. But the one thing that we thought was a satellite that powered up, there's no explanation for that.
No.
Satellites don't power up.
Yeah.
And then the globe just vanishing like that. I mean, where did it go? It's like, yeah, that was just so bizarre.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
How about Colfax?
Colfax, okay. Colfax, okay, supposed to be a lot of UFO activity over there. We got there, we didn't see no UFOs. I mean, Deanna was looking through her telescope and looking through her telescope, and I was falling asleep. It was like, okay, there's nothing happening here.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we get into the house, and she goes, well, my house is haunted too. Well, one of the stories that she had is that the aliens, okay, and we get some strange stories, but the aliens had landed their craft near the house, and 3 female aliens came out in the balcony, and they did like a little dance. I go, okay. And so I'm really, I hate to say this, but I really thought she was a wacko. Okay. And she goes, I told her, and she was getting upset. I said, look, we're not finding any UFOs out here. And so she really had a hard time believing. She goes, you're not looking hard enough. I said, I've looked hard enough, okay? And I said, Deanna's been looking through her telescope so much, she's starting to get a circle around her eye. Okay, so enough of that. But as we were going into the house, she goes, well, my house is haunted. Well, our house was built like in the 1930s, so it has a lot of history to it. I said, okay, there we go. That's something we can actually do. So we started investigating the house. And sure enough, we started getting some EVPs, but the most unique thing is, and I got a photo of it, but it's Deanna. She's saying, there's something burning my leg. And again, 3 investigators with 3 cameras. She goes, start snapping pictures. And this black thing came in the photograph. It's right in the photograph, but it's a black circle actually hovering over her leg.
Wow.
Yeah, and she's screaming. She's saying, there's something burning my leg. So that was just so bizarre. And we try to recreate that photo, and there's no way we can do it. And to the life of me, I have no idea what this black thing is hovering over her leg. But you know what is also unique? We have some photographs that'll just blow you away. One of our psychics, her name's Brittany Lance, she told Deanna, she goes, I can channel entities. And so she was walking in a little building in Franklin, and she goes, I feel entities here, and I feel entities here. And she goes, oh, right now an entity is hugging me. So she wraps her arms like this, and the camera starts snapping. And sure enough, right in between her hugging, it's like this ectoplasm.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, it's like a real ghost is there. And then she's walking around, she goes, take a picture now because I'm channeling. The energy is hitting my shoulders. We snap a photo, and sure enough, the energy is actually hitting her shoulders, it's hitting her head, everything else. And when I published the pictures, people were so blown away from the pictures. They said, Paul, it was doctored. It was Photoshop. I go, no, it wasn't Photoshop. I was right there when the photo was taken. I said, that's not Photoshop. But I mean, anybody looking at it, if I was a person looking at somebody else's photo and seeing this light hitting her shoulders and her head and everything else, hugging a ghost, I would have thought it was Photoshop.
Yeah.
But I was right there. I saw the photo. It was digital. It was taken right there. And I don't know how she did it. It just blew me away. But then, of course, again, when Deanna was saying there was something burning my leg, and this black thing's hovering over her leg, how did that happen? I mean, that has to be paranormal.
Now, do you, when you go on these investigations, do you work at debunking them as well as you do proving them? Because there's got to be kind of a fine line, you know. And I'm sure there's a lot of investigations that you go on that are a little bit, well, just not as authentic or believable as others.
Right.
So what do you do about that?
We do a lot of debunking.
Okay.
And those are the stories I don't tell you.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
there's no story there. I mean,
That's true. I want to hear what you're getting. I don't want to hear what you're not getting. But I did
Exactly.
have to ask that question.
Yeah.
So, okay, so there was no UFOs in Colfax. What about Monterey?
Oh, you see, that was a debunk right there, because she was telling me there's UFO. She was saying on a nightly basis there's UFO activity. We're going to see UFOs. We might even see UFO land and everything else, right? And we debunked the whole thing. There was no UFOs there, but she did have some ghosts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's something.
Yeah, that is something. Yeah.
And you know the alien energy. You know, that's something that maybe you'll get a grip on later on. Do a little bit more investigation.
And also too with Deanna, just from one of her stories, I think at some point in time in her life, that she was, you've heard about people who've been abducted by aliens.
Yes.
Okay, well, I think somewhere in her childhood, from the stories that she tells me, I think she had an experience similar to that. And that's why I think that she has that gift where she's able to communicate with aliens and entities.
Yeah.
Because she'll sit right there on the bed and she goes, Paul, you need to turn on your recorder. I go, why? She goes, he's talking to me right now. The entity's talking to me. I go, okay. I turn on the recorder. I play it back. Oh, there's a voice right there. And this is what's really good. And so we did a quick and dirty EVP, electronic voice phenomenon. We produced the evidence right there on the spot. So like in the Yuba City case, we went to a hot spot and where Deanna was able to say, yeah, the entity's talking or whatever. You should be recording right now. So I'm able to do a quick and dirty and say, hello, is there anyone here? Please talk to me. Let me know that you're here. I pause, give it time to talk, and then I play it back. And you hear my voice, okay, is there anybody here, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, I'm right here. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And everybody's freaking out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well, you know what? We're almost out of time.
Oh.
I can't believe it. So
Okay.
why don't you give your information so people know how to get in touch with you?
You can find my stories, my photos, my videos, actually at two locations. One location is www.jasmaonline.com, and the other location is www.teardropsofanangel.com. Teardropsofanangel.com is actually my wife's website, but she places all our stories, our videos, our photos up there too. So, and there's a paranormal hotline, which is 916-203-7503.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Paul, for that information. And we need to get some information about the Paranormal Connection.
The Paranormal Connection airs the first and third Thursday at 9:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Our companion show, Story Connection, airs the second and fourth Thursdays of each month. Each episode repeats the following Friday at 1:30 p.m. and Saturday at 5:30 a.m. Watch these programs online at the same air times by going to accesssacramento.org and clicking Watch 17. In the Sacramento region, you can see us on Comcast Channel 17 and on AT&T Channel 99. You can find previously aired shows on the Paranormal Connection YouTube channel. For information on upcoming shows and previous Paranormal Connection guests, go to paranormalconnectiontv.blogspot.com. You can contact us at paranormalconnectiontv@gmail.com. And don't forget, find us on Facebook, become a friend, and become a fan.
All right. Well, I do want to address one thing before we run out of time. Your wife has written these beautiful books, and where can these be found? Okay. The books.
Right. Deanna writes a lot of books, and they can be found at www.jasmaonline.com.
Okay.
And then www.teardropsofanangel.com.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I wanted to get that in there because
Yeah.
before we run out, and there's HBI case files and Moon Temple, and there's poetry and stories. And
Right. And also, too, you can find them at Barnes & Nobles.
Okay.
And you can also, too, find them at Amazon.com. and they've been selling in Australia and the UK and everything else.
Wonderful.
So, yeah,
She's so talented.
yeah.
Okay, so in the minute we have left, I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your investigations. And you know we never have enough time
We
to
never
cover
have enough
to cover
time.
everything. So
Thank
we'll
you
have
so
to.
much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
We'll have to have you come back with Jana sometime, and we can talk about more cases.
Okay.
So keep up the good work, and
you.
I just want to thank my wonderful crew for coming out tonight and volunteering their time to get the show on the air, because without them it wouldn't happen. So Laura and Ted and Laureen and Cassandra and Rick and David, thank you so much for helping out tonight, and we just love you guys. So
Bravo.
yeah,
Yes.
thanks again, and keep an open mind, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, good night, everybody.